to us so we can ask Kat and Martin when they're on. And, you know, we know when Martin and Adam were on before, Martin was having audio issues, so should be corrected for next week. And I really look forward to having them both on the show.
I do too.
And to your point on cartilage free, you know, you'd made mention of something they had done in raising money for a Guna Pal. They want to talk about that.
Yeah. So Dustin Meadow is one of the guys over there, and I think I think they may be all friends with this guy, but they have a friend who's an Arsenal fan. He runs an Arsenal blog, and evidently had some terrible climbing accident, like broke bones in his body seriously, and had medical bills that were racking up. And they did this. They did this charity contest where I think they raised $5,000 for this guy, and in return, the cartilage-free guys get to run this Arsenal blog. So it should be a lot of fun. And it was just great that, you know, look, it's at the end of the day, it's just a sport, and it was nice to see you know, sort of a human side come out in people, no matter how much we hate them. I thought that was a classy thing that they did, and help a fellow man, even though it was a gooner,
absolutely. The colours on the shirt, cool. They just all blend together when you have to do something charitable like that. And,
So I'm you know, there's a great Spurs community around. There's so many good podcasts, so many good blogs, and we're completely unafraid to point out people that do great work. You know, nobody here. I think you're disingenuous to come on here and any of us to be an expert. We're supporters first and foremost, and we all learn from each other. So it's great when you know, we're very quick to identify wonderful resources like those guys. We got some good listener questions. I wouldn't mind jumping into one of them. It is only right that you get to answer this. But Matt, at Oside Hotspur, he asks, and it's clearly directed to you, if Spurs was a beer, what would they be?
Wow. We're definitely not an Imperial IPA. Strong, robust, and full of flavor. I think our 80s team was probably a double IPA. But right now, you know, I'd like to think of us as an extra special bitter, an ESB, because there is some strength in there. There's a lot of color and a nice rounded flavor. So I'd put that down as a compliment. Right now, Chelsea are like Coors Light, the beer that was on their shirt in the 90s. They're piss weak and flavorless.
They've got bitter beer flavors.
And they've always been tasteless. Let's put it that way.
Yes, yeah. I love beer.
Matt.
That was a great question. I love beer.
What beer would you put us down?
Well, I don't know enough about. You know, you've forgotten more about beer than I will ever know. Now I know a little bit about wine. I love wine. I love beer too. I'll put that in wine terms. I think that we are a first growth Bordeaux, but very young.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
There we go. Let's see what else here. Other questions. Samuel Thorell, if you had to clone one of our players, Simon, and play him and his clones across the pitch, who would it be? Present player.
Oh, wow. If I had to clone someone, I think I'd probably clone Eric Dier right now. The way he has completely had us all, again, reaching for the humble pie in great quantities. If we could have two Eric Diers at the back in front of our back four, we'd keep clean sheet after clean sheet, as well as provide that forward thrust that was probably lacking at times last season. And I think we would just go from strength to strength.
Yeah, I don't think you could do any wrong with choosing Dier or Ali. So maybe we'll clone a player and we'll call him Eric Ali. Perfect.
There you go.
We've got. We talked a couple of weeks ago about our schedule coming up. I mean, it's certainly fixture packed, but it may not be, because I think we've got some of the heavy lifting out of the way, particularly City and Monaco away, and you know, not an easy fixture at Swansea away. So we've got Liverpool next Saturday. We've got Anderlecht the following Thursday, Bournemouth away, Villa at home November 2, Anderlecht at home 3 days later. And then it gets a bit dodgy. We got November 8th, we have Scum away. Then we have West Ham home. Qarabag away on November 22nd, and then Chelsea home. So, we've got 3 London derbies within the space of 3 weeks, with European fixtures sandwiched in between. And I'm just encouraged. I don't know, happy clapping here, but we wanted to see a progression, Simon, and I'm of the mindset that we're seeing that.
Well, let's talk about those very briefly, and we'll do predictions on the pods nearer the matches. I think the 2 Anderlecht games are going to be pivotal, because if we can get, arguably, be very optimistic to say 6 points, but if we got 4 points out of those, let's face it, Anderlecht lost to Qarabag.
I couldn't believe that.
So,
which, by the way, hey, real quick, Qarabag did a really, really cool thing. Did you see the penalty that they deliberately missed in the league game?
I did not.
Oh, yeah. There's a shit call made, and everybody was complaining about it, and nobody asked them to do this, but they deliberately missed the penalty as a show of sportsmanship. It was quite nice. It was good to see. Sorry.
So, if we can get 4 points there and we effectively have qualified, I know it's a tough ask when you still got 2 games to play. I think if we won both games, I think effectively qualification's there. So we've discussed this already. The Qarabag away game enables us to put out a weakened team so we can focus on Chelsea. And let's face it, Chelsea could be debuting their new manager on that home game if things go true to form with their performances. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. You're right, 3 London derbies, at least 2 of them are at home. Will help, and you've got the international break again for the playoffs for the Euros, so it gives us time to rest up. I'd like to say we can get a positive result at the Woolwich, like last season, and I'm sure we're all fired up after losing at home to them in the League Cup, and hopefully our fans go there and behave and don't act as they did at our manor. But I hope
somebody takes a poo
and misses the toilet bowl. But I think the pivotal games to set up November will definitely be Bournemouth and Villa, and we need to go for 6 points in both those games. No doubt about it. Villa, obviously on a horrid run of form, and I think we're all slyly smiling at that because it's dim Tim. What we don't need to do is what we did when he came back to the lane last year, and we lost 1-0 in a very tepid affair on our part. So Bournemouth is not going to be easy. They've still got that honeymoon syndrome, but I think we go down there and we just outmuscle them, and they're going to be lacking now. They've lost Callum Wilson to probably season-ending injury.
Oh, is that right?
Which was a shame to see. Yeah, it's very Gascoigne-esque. He hurt his knee, and he said he could carry on, and he just collapsed off the ball.
Oh, wow.
So it was sad to see, and so they're going to miss him. I think they have another long-term injury, which is really going to capitulate their season and put them in a mess. And I have a soft spot for Bournemouth, as anyone knows, because I lived there for a while, and I think it's just a dream for them to come up to the Premier League.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Just be going horribly wrong from a personnel standpoint, and they just don't like many of the bigger clubs. They're just not going to have that depth that will allow them to provide experience.
Yeah, it's the small clubs really suffer from that. Sure.
It's going to be tough for them, but it's time for us to have that killer instinct that we may be lacking.
I think it's developing. I think it's developing. Whereas I was 2-3 weeks ago was somewhat petrified about this run of fixtures. I look at this team as a group of players that don't seem to be intimidated anymore by big clubs. I think there is a little bit great. I mean, as you said about Liverpool, they're a point behind us. I mean, so there's parity in the league to a great degree, and I think we may be, even with some injuries, I think we're ready to handle this load. We will see, and we will certainly be there to comment about it.
If you've got to look at Palace, Leicester, and West Ham, they're kind of bridging that gap between the traditional top 6, and that's keeping Everton and Spurs out. But the thing is, we could have been sitting on 15 points and in 4th spot if we'd taken the points at Swansea. However, we're only 2 points out of that spot, and I think that's That's key.
Well, and it speaks to this critical run in terms of the need to get performances. I mean, look, West Ham was I think top 4 or top 5 around Christmas break, and I made the comment around that time that by Valentine's Day they'd be 10th, and they were, and I would somewhat expect that again. All right, so we've got fun group of fixtures coming up. Great show next week. Before we wrap up, I want to make a quick shout out to a guy that sends a bunch of stuff. He's a massive supporter. He goes by Shubes, at the real SHUBAN. And of the many things that he sent out last week, he sent out this really, really cool 7-minute video of Ledley King. I think it was a Sky Sports spotlight where they take a player and they go back to, his home and where he grew up and how he learned the game. And I need to post that link somewhere, but it was really, really cool.
He does tweet out a lot.
Yeah, that was a good one. So I got it. Yeah, it was very kind of him to do that. And I really, because I didn't really know much about sort of Ledley's. He played on this junior team where I think there were 5 players that ended up playing in the Premier League. Konchesky, I can't remember all of them. Anyway, it was really great. All right, before we wrap up, I have some monumental news for you. Did you know that a Spurs player listens to our podcast? It's true.
Well, I didn't know it until you put it on the rundown of the show. I'm scrolling through to make sure we've covered it.
Eric Dier.
What is his last line?
Eric
Dier listens to the podcast.
He does. It's true. It's true. I know it to be true, and I don't need anybody to tell me that. I don't need any affirmation from anybody, and I'll tell you why. Nobody picked this up. This is a Tottenham Hotspur world scoop. Nobody mentioned his boots last week. He's changed his boots. His boots are no longer all black. And remember how he said, "I wish he changes. I wish he changes black boots because he looks so slow." Mm-hmm. He was in a flash new pair of gray Nike boots with green trim. Gone are the black boots, and it's obvious to me that he heard us say that on the podcast, and he decided to change. And my God, look what it's done for him.
So that's the basis of how he listens.
Yes, it's true. It's true.
All right,
it's true. Okay. So on that on that note, maybe we can work to get him on the show, and he can admit it.
Yeah, you shattered my false hopes there. That I thought you were actually.
You thought I was really being serious.
Yeah.
All right. On that note, we will be back next week with a great show. We have had fun, and we hope to do it again next week. Anything else I'm missing? Shout outs? I think we're good?
No, I think we need a shout out.
All right, how are we going to do this?
We need a shout out to Ken.
Yeah, Ken, we love you. And we are eager for you to return to the show post haste. Come back.
Listen to this and say, hell no, I'm not doing that again.
No, I think actually the show's been so shitty that he'll be like, I cannot believe I let them do this again, and I have to be back. So hopefully
ruining my podcast.
Hopefully next week. Nah, he's doing great stuff with family. Yeah. So, Chairs, always a pleasure. On that note, I will ask you to get in there, son. And then what is...
I'll screw it up. Be kind to one another unless the other one's wearing red.
And you say...
Wankers.
And we are...
Wankers.
This episode of Hotspur America has been edited by the great Jack Z. Ha!